Four.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, it was a heck of a movie. It moved along really nice. It was obviously a pretty broad comedy. And
you
And
think?
Hobson's
yeah.
choice wasn't.
Well, that was a little more serious, but that's a little more convoluted. But I don't know. It's not much to say about it, except I really enjoyed it. It's like,
I would like to know Chris's opinion because he doesn't like old timey movies, and this fucking movie is.
Also,
Well,
Chris is in black and white. I don't know if we can do this without Chris being in black and white.
yeah, you might have to switch
Fine.
that.
Yeah, but he's got that nice
There it is.
background.
All right.
Let's just start. Let's just get the atrocity out of the way first.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as that
Chris.
happened, I was like, "This is Chris's basket of puppies moment."
This is like, this aggression will not stand, man.
What was it made of?
although
Back then they make it out of
although
paper or
he
something like
does he does pay him to buy 2 drums.
Yeah, you get yourself two.
So, the first 40 minutes or so, I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess this is fine. I will tell you that this expression, this sort of like, I don't even know how to just insouciance. I'm gonna
Insouciance?
yeah, like I'm gonna mangle like
Insouciant.
this. This wore on me pretty quickly.
Yeah, he was mugging a bit in the
He
first.
does utilize that.
And it's just this parade of these fucking hayseed cartoon characters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then that fucking Gettysburg Address scene.
Ah, that was so good.
And I was just like, okay, that's pretty good.
You got me.
Apparently
scene-
he did that. Apparently he did that on like every American movie he did after this.
That
Like,
that
he was-
that yeah, that scene guys, that's like, okay, that's pretty fucking great. And I will tell
He was
you
capable of acting.
Mhm.
when we
I
get
do love when the guy at the end of that is like, "Yeah, I'll buy a drink."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the line was going to be. How are they going to break the ice after
Yeah,
this?
exactly. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So now the movie's now got me on its good side, and I rode that until like this scene at the end where he starts crying, and they're all like, okay, like for like the 50th, for he's a jolly good fellow. Okay, enough already. But I actually was surprised. I ended up enjoying this movie a lot.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's sweet. It had a good heart. I like what it had to say about. I mean, listen, this poor motherfucker basically gets sold into slavery in like the first 12 minutes of this movie.
I know, it's
No
pretty weird.
agency.
I mean, that's the British like
Yeah.
servant class.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
My father
yeah,
was a man's servant.
Yeah, it's fucked
Right.
up. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
And
this is
like
that's
by
very-
the end, you see a path to him becoming like fully in charge of his own life, and I'm 100% on board with that message. And so, yeah, I like it. It took until the Gettysburg scene to get me on its good side, but it kept me on its good side, and I thought it really stuck the
Yeah.
landing. So,
It was definitely a contrast of like a really layered and strict society where no one moves up and down versus America, where everyone's making shit up as they go along, which
Right.
is which is great. It shows all over the place. The hayseeds from Red Gap are in Paris, just dressing the way they want and just acting
Jumping
like idiots.
on each other's backs
just-
and going piggyback around the
There's
cafe.
There's this scene where I think that's right where it's happening, and the camera pans right, and Ruggles is like mortified.
Yeah.
Like he's like a frightened dog at that point, ready to run away. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is happening?
am I to
That was
understand this
great
is like the
scene.
third?
Hmm?
This movie's been made like 3 times.
Wow,
it was
really?
a very,
It's
it was a
from the
very,
teens, yeah. There was a
was a-
silent
The silent one, yeah.
Ah.
it was
It was
a
written in
very
19
popular novel.
Is
Yeah.
this
It
the
was written in
second
1905 or
then?
something
Is
like
this
that.
the second version of it?
Mm-hmm.
Or the
Third version.
Probably the
Second
third
version.
version, yeah.
Yeah.
It was written when it's set, like 1908 or something like that. No, 1908. That's right.
Right. It's definitely pre-war.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This fucking guy.
It's a few years before Downton Abbey starts, so it's like
Mm.
kind of have a sense of that whole stratification in there as well. But yeah, it was good. I think the performances are pretty good. If broad, everyone's just playing it up as hard as they can. Again,
Well, Charlie Ruggles, the guy who plays the nouveau riche guy.
The American. Yeah.
Yeah. He basically he was this character throughout a series of movies.
He's good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You kind of see where like the Beverly Hillbillies and stuff like that
Yeah.
came from.
Oh, yeah,
You
absolutely.
know?
And I'm
but
sorry.
this- I mean,
Speaking of, I kind of felt like the setup was like a sitcom setup. at the
It was actually.
Mhm.
It was.
No,
It was like the nanny, actually, in some ways.
It's like you failed to do this. Now you have to be his butler. Like
Well,
the
and there's
card
also the
game.
whole Seinfeld thing about somebody owes somebody money, so they have to become their servant.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's
Also,
obviously
but
a
I
rip
thought
on this.
Zazu did a great job because again,
Yes.
everybody's being caricatures and being bigger than life and mugging, and she's just this sweet gal. And
Yeah.
and it's just like it shouldn't have to be particularly beautiful, but everyone just kind of gravitates toward her at the end. It's great. She's a person who helps people out and is a friendly person, and it's just like the heart of the film. It's
Yeah,
so
she
fun.
kind of wins you over, doesn't
Yeah, she
she?
didn't
Yeah.
have to. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Well, and she's one of the few actors in this movie that chose to dial it down a little bit versus everybody else cranking it to 11.
I think
Yeah.
they had to do that.
Everybody
It's a
else
relief,
is
isn't it?
playing to
You
the
had to
bet
you had
that
to
you
ground a
want cheap
circuit. So
seats.
yeah, she
Mhm.
was the grounding of the circuit in this thing. And also, she was in Von Stroheim's Greed, man. She started doing silence around this time the first film came out, and she finished up on a sitcom on television. A
Yeah.
hell of a huge career.
As soon as I saw her, because I was like, I had the name in my head, and then as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh yeah, it's a very familiar face.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
She's in one or two Fields movies too.
That's right.
Fields, yeah.
So this isn't Lawton's first American film, is it?
I don't think so.
Oh,
it's his first comedy.
oh yeah,
It
okay.
might be his first comedy.
Mhm.
Which is probably why he was mugging so much.
Well, no, I mean, even if you look at the Private Lives of Henry VIII, which I think is 31 or 32,
Mhm.
Right?
he has a tendency to mug that same shit-eating grin that he's wearing behind Chris. And he does the same thing in Hobson's Choice. He's
Oh yeah.
The mugging will continue.
The mugging will continue.
continue.
But he's so different. The characters are so different.
Yeah.
This is the
They
first
are.
time I've seen him direct.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him act. This is the first.
Oh
And
wow.
I thought he was great.
Not even in
Hunchback, right?
He was in Hunchback. He did Beauty,
The Hunchback
That's
of Notre
that's like
Dame.
how people know him a
Beauty and
lot.
the Bounty. He
That's
did
an American movie.
I don't think
Yeah.
I saw that. If that's the
he did
original.
a couple of sword and sandal films too. Like he was like in. I want to say he was in Ben-Hur or something like that.
I
Didn't he
wanted
do
to
the-
say that he was in the David Lean movie, Lawrence of Arabia.
No, it was
I
not
think
Lawrence of
that's the other guy, the Invisible Man.
Yeah, that's I had
Inspector
last week.
Clouseau in
Yeah.
Casablanca.
Yeah, I really like him as
Oh,
an
yeah.
actor.
Claude Rains.
Claude Rains.
Claude Rains, right?
The
He's in Mutiny on the Bounty, though, right?
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He's in the Clark Gable mutiny.
Maybe I have
Yeah,
seen him.
yeah.
Oh, also, I love the trajectory of Ruggles' old boss. You know, his the
Yeah.
sir,
Yeah,
what's
where
his
he
name?
like gets
A forgetful.
Believe in love
Yeah,
at first
he just
sight.
gets drunk and sells his butler off, and he just kind of like bumbles through out of the film for like most of it. He comes back in, and of course, being a bumbler, kind of like it's not really taking life seriously. He just, that one cute gal who's singing a thing, he just basically stands there, his face and drools, basically. It's like-
Mhm.
so his decision was made at that point.
Do
When
you believe in love at first sight?
exactly, that's the guy. Yeah.
He's Bertie Wooster, and this is Jeeves.
Mhm.
Like this is what would happen if Wooster had lost Jeeves in a card game.
Right.
Right.
There is a good line associated with that because he asks her if you believe in love at first sight. She says no, and he goes, "Neither do I. That's why I need to spend some more time with you."
Yeah, that was a
Pretty
good
quick.
one.
Pretty smooth.
Slick line. Yeah, it's good.
Well, I thought it was kind of loud and broad and what was the
Oh, you
word?
hadn't seen this.
Screechy. I hadn't seen either of these films.
Got it.
And so it kind of had to win me over, but I mean the whole the gimmick is how uncouth and awful Americans are, right? The ugly Americans. But then you get
Yes.
back, he gets back to America and kind of sees what the virtues are, that he can sort of make himself over.
Yeah.
So yeah, it won me over. It was sort of the package, you know. It was like with the broad
Yes.
comedy, the sort of static, stagey kind of presentation and everything. It definitely feels like a movie that's 20 years older than the movie that we're going to talk about next. You know.
Is this Leo McCarey? Did he direct?
Leo
Yeah,
McCarey.
Leo McCarey. You know,
Yeah.
Marx Brothers movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also this is like it does talk about like the stuffy English and like, you know, giving away the you know, lack of social movement and that kind of thing, and the Americans being all
Right.
uncouth. But it doesn't, the end of the film, you know, it doesn't judge. It's just different.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they have a lot to learn from each other in a lot of ways. You know,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
the things he brings in as Ruggles brings in is it allows him to open that restaurant that everyone loves. You know, and so that's great. Oh, telling
With
off
the help of a strong woman, which is also going to
Yes.
be a theme we're returning to later.
yeah,
Yeah,
and also
there's lots of parallels. I mean, aside from just Lawton being in both of these.
also give the bums rush he gives to the snooty brother. That was great. That was fun.
Yeah, that was good.
I was
Yeah.
being an asshole the entire movie.
Big time.
But
Community villain with the
yeah, so that was good stuff.
Tad.
I thought it was fairly thin. Like the story was fairly thin. Like the comedy was real hit and miss for me. There are certain points where I thought the comedy was decent and certain. It reminded me a lot actually of growing up listening to the golden age of radio with Max
Sure.
Snead
A little bit.
on a local radio station in New York. All of the sitcoms, which is, as Jared mentioned, it reminded me a lot of listening to those old sitcoms. And in fact, you don't really need visuals for most of this movie.
Yeah, it is almost
This
it's
movie-
almost verbal, isn't it?
Right. This
Yeah.
movie plays largely in the dialogue. In fact, I when I was watching this, I had to get up and do something real quick. And it was the first point in the movie where there was an actual extended pause in the dialogue. And it's when the brother kind of gets pissed off and like throws the cards down on the table. And I was like, oh, I thought my movie stopped. Like,
They stopped talking. What happened?
I thought I lost connection for a second there. But I can't sit here and say it's bad because it's not. I think the acting in it, especially Mrs. Johnson and Laughlin, I think both do a very good job as their characters. I don't know. This is one of those movies where I feel like has been kind of lost to time for a reason. Like it doesn't do anything particularly well, but it also doesn't do anything particularly badly
Right.
either. Like it never overstays its welcome. I think the runtime is perfect for this kind of
Yeah,
story.
that's for sure.
It's well executed. It was obviously decently budgeted for its time. You got Lawton wanted this director, like it was his choice. He was like, I want somebody who has a history of making good comedies to be the director on my first comedy. But I don't know, it felt so thin to me. Like there just kind of isn't much here. And this is one of those movies where when we get to the end of the year and we're going to be looking at stuff to pick for our top 10, I'm not going to remember I watched this.
It is definitely it's kind of aged. It is a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of whiskers on it. You know, the whole the Americana theme with the the recitation of the Gettysburg Address. It's like a lot of like the producer saying we got to tug heartstrings here. This is for American audiences. We got to do this certain way.
For me,
And
it worked.
finding out that particularly that scene was the Gettysburg Address apparently meant an awful lot to Lawton personally
Right.
in his journey of becoming an American citizen. I felt that passion coming through in that scene, which kind of elevates it above everything else in the movie, which then kind of diminishes everything else in the movie.
No, it makes the rest of it
It's
seem
like
kind of
listening
silly.
to somebody like Ian McKellen do Shakespeare. Like all of a sudden, I'm like leaning into the movie because like, oh, like you have 110% of my attention now.
You know, it's based
For
on a
everything
true.
you just said. Like the tone just tweaked so hard in that 4 minutes.
Well, and I love how he starts off really quietly, saying it under his breath.
Yeah.
And then eventually Egbert's like, oh, you know what it is. Why don't you say it?
Yes.
And he's not speaking very loudly in that scene either, but you get to watch the whole bar slowly turn and start to appreciate what's going on.
Right.
And by the end of it, there is that pregnant pause, which ends with the joke line, I'll buy a drink. You know, like it has that it has that weird gravitas to it that I think maybe would have worked better in some of the other scenes. And then one other complaint that I have, and I get it from a movie making perspective and whatever. I kind of wish I could have heard what his old master said about him, or at least some of what he said about him, because it immediately cuts from him standing up and starting to talk to Ruggles in the kitchen,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
you have to try to fill in your mind, but you don't know that character well enough to know what kind of thing he would have said about him
Right.
to get
Mm.
everyone on that side.
Right.
And it's like, because even when he comes back, the like scandalized socialites and people like that who looked like they were trying to walk out after the altercation are still there and singing for him.
Right.
Right.
What the fuck did this dude say? This absolute doofus who somehow blundered his way into marrying the most beautiful girl in town.
Yeah, we don't
Just
see how he
sta-
actually accomplished that either.
Just stands up. Well, you kind of do, and the
Little bit.
line that you said, and then the scene with the drums, you can see him being charming in that situation.
Mhm.
But like, he's a dumbass.
Yeah.
And like, he just dumbasses his way into getting everyone to love this guy. And it's like, I kind of wish we'd gotten to see that. Like, that's a good character moment.
It is a leap that the audience has to make because
Yeah.
we go straight to the kitchen, as you say,
Right.
and I think it's intentional. It's like you don't
yeah.
want to
Oh,
deify the
yes.
guy by having a speech.
Oh, I know.
about how great
I know
he is.
I know what he said. I'm rich and British, and if you don't say nice things about this guy, I'm going to buy this town and burn it to the ground. He's probably a veteran of World War
As someone who's lived in Washington almost as long as I've lived anywhere else in my life, I can tell you that these towns still exist.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. All right, Jim, you have a corner on this?
I said my piece.
What about Jared? Hasn't said much.
I thought it was charming.
Late.
It is light, I
Yeah.
agree with Tad. I agree with Tad. It's kind of thin, but when you're on its wavelength, it's a lot of fun, and it's not quite as sophisticated at all as the next film, in many ways, both in the filmmaking and in the writing, and we'll talk about the dialogue as well. But
We're still inventing filmmaking at this
Yeah.
point.
You have to mentally, you have to
this is an
mentally shift.
early,
Yeah.
30s. Like but it's got a charm. I think Lawton is great. I love how the other guy that has the little drawl when he comes in, his voice every once in a while is kind of funny. And I mean, yeah, they're like kind of like cartoon characters, but I found it a lot of fun.
I might have more sympathy for it if I hadn't just picked the Thin Man.
True.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which feels like a movie you could have made last week.
Yeah, that's true. Well, different kind of storytelling.
So
this
Thin
one you
Man
have
is
to
on
kind of put
another
your
level.
30s hat
Oh,
on
yeah.
and watch this
Yeah.
film.
I mean, there's a contrast for you. They're both made in the same decade, and this
Yeah.
one feels
That's
much
the
more
thing.
primitive.
Yeah. It's
But
just like I said.
but a decade is a long time in terms of like what year was the Thin Man?
34.
33 or
34.
34.
It's
So this is
before this.
35.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, this film requires you to be in a 30s mindset to really enjoy it, I think.
I just think it's part of the directors because Van Dyke was just a better filmmaker, I think, than
Probably. There it is.
Yeah.
Leo McCarey.
But I liked it.
McCarey's comedies tend to be, just like point and shoot.
No, especially with
Yeah,
the Marx
the-
Brothers. Just
that's
point
what it
down
felt
the
like,
Marx
especially in the
Brothers.
opening-
Brothers, that's easy.
Yeah,
Especially in the
that's-
opening scenes, Jim, when it's just like it's like a stage entrance. The door
It
opens and the character walks into the room, and
Yes.
Well, this was filming stage plays largely. This was
Yeah.
a stage play.
Well,
Right.
yeah,
And it feels like it.
So is the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
These are
this
both
definitely
plays.
felt three-walled all the way through. It's like exactly. All right. Well, I guess we can do thumbs at this point.
Oh, I liked it.
I mean,
like
yeah,
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I liked it more
I
than
laughed
Fire.
and laughed. All right.
I'm keeping it at 2 or something because we're going to talk about a better movie next.